Hey there, friends and enemies, Joe here again, and I wanted to talk about the stasis weapons that I think are going to benefit the most from the upcoming champion changes with Lightfall. Now, if you missed it, Bungie is completely changing how champions are taken on. You can use certain element abilities essentially to tackle champions. For example, you can use slow from weapons or abilities to stun overload champions. You can use freeze to stun unstoppable champions. That's going to be a complete game changer in the way you craft builds. So I wanted to take a peek at the stasis weapons that I think will benefit the most. And we'll start with the exotics and Aegir Scepter, which is already very, very good, but I don't think it's going to get as much benefit from this. And in fact, I think other weapons are going to essentially replace what this does. And the reason being is you need final blows with this weapon to generate a slowing burst unless you use the super energy in order to slow and freeze. So at base form, this thing isn't going to be slowing a ton compared to other weapons. Same thing with freezing, so I think this one's going to be kind of left behind. Right now it's very good in endgame builds, but I think that's going to change. And one of the reasons is cryosthesia. This one, all you need is one kill, and then you swap firing modes. So you can kind of hold that LN2 burst in order to swap firing modes to freeze and slow enemies and guardians and stuff. And I think it's very effective in how it's going to work. And testing it out against how quickly you can freeze and slow enemies, this thing is going to be a lot better than I think people realize. You've also got something like the Salvation's Grip, which is not gonna be very good still, just because it just doesn't do enough damage, and that's really a shame because I wish this was better. This thing absolutely needs a buff eventually, and I'm hoping that does happen down the line because it's just the worst exotic in the game, unfortunately. Then we move on to the legendary weapons, and even though it's not going to benefit directly from the champion changes, I do think Luna Lotta with Headstone is going to be very good. It's super easy to proc, and you're going to be able to generate a stasis crystal. You're going to be able to slow enemies, so those changes are really going to help out the Luna Lotta a lot, and I think it's going to be very, very good. Other ones like Headstone is going to be solid, but not as good as other perks. And that's really why I'm not going to talk about them a whole lot, because I feel like the primaries are not going to be able to compete. So you're going to want to use an exotic primary with a special that is stasis. So the main ones that I'm focused on today are going to be Lingering Dread from the Duality Dungeon. If you don't have this, which I don't currently, I'm definitely going to be farming for this because it can roll with Chill Clip. And I think fusions are going to overall be better with Chill Clip, but Chill Clip has a very interesting potential because you're going to be able to, with one shot, slow enemies, and then two shots be able to freeze them. So that means one shot potentially you'll be able to take on overload champions, and two shots for the unstoppables. So this one for overloads I think will be very, very good, but yeah, and then this one always is going to proc because direct hits with the top half of the magazine. It's always going to be the top half of the magazine for this one. So if you're good with grenade launchers, this one's going to be fantastic in my personal opinion, especially for overload champions for sure. Then we go to fusions, and you can kind of pick your poison here. A lot of people will probably have a Riptide because they were giving them out like candy previously. And so a lot of people will probably, if you kept it, will have a Chill Clip version of Riptide, and I know that's the one everyone's pointing to. However, this weekend is Burden of Guilt weekend for Trials of Osiris. So if you play Trials at all, look for a Chill Clip version of Burden of Guilt. It's my favorite personally of these fusions, and if you get an Adept version with Chill Clip, it's going to be awesome. You're going to throw on Adept big ones, you're going to be able to absolutely slap things. So this one is the one that I would personally go for, but there's also the Deliverance, which you can get from the raid, which is also very nice. I think this is solid, but I think underused because it's kind of older. So this is the Valid Disciple raid, so definitely snag that if you don't have one already. But now is the time to be farming these weapons if you don't have one. I'd be interested to see if they drop a sniper rifle that can really compete and maybe not Chill Clip, but have some kind of option. Same thing with a Trace Rifle, a legendary would be awesome, or a Glaive, because we haven't seen a Stasis glaive. We haven't seen a Stasis trace rifle yet. That's a legendary, so maybe they'll do an exotic first for the glaive, but we'll see. I just personally would love to see those dropping at some point in the future. Same thing with a sword. I would love to see a perk with a Stasis sword that really does well, but right now we've got the Zephyr, but it's not really going to be slowing enemies like you would want to, or stunning enemies, and obviously in Grandmasters those are hard. Then we move on to the grenade launchers, and if you don't have something like a Typhon, they were fairly easy to obtain, but you can get chill clip on this if you want to. It's not terrible, but I don't think it's going to be the best option. You'd much rather use a fusion rifle if possible, and overall it's going to be fine. I know the chill clip for rocket launchers can be very good, so you're going to want to craft a bump in the night if you haven't already. This is an absolute must for Lightfall, because with some testing that's been done on bosses, if you have a bunch of legendary rockets, one Gallahorn, like say you are doing a raid with 6 players, one Gallahorn, one chill clip bump in the night, and then one and then the rest is other legendaries with Vorpal or Lasting Impression or whatever the case may be. It's very good. So having this chill clip option for that, but also having it now to take on champions, so you can use essentially one shot to always freeze. You're not going to really use it against unstoppables for the 2 shots, but if you're using this for boss damage anyway, like say you're using it for boss damage in the Nightfall, this could be a very good option that you can have on hand, and I think everyone should try to farm for one of these and level it up if you haven't already. There's a few weapons. I'm going to go through my list of weapons that you're going to want leveled up in anticipation of Lightfall. That'll be another video, but yeah, this one is going to be huge. I think you should absolutely go for that. There's also linear fusions you can get, which again, they're not going to be using, like they have Headstone, which is solid, but you're not going to really be using that over something like Vorpal. So this one really isn't receiving much of a benefit. Now, machine guns are interesting because currently we don't have a perk that really vibes with the Overload and Unstoppable champions, but if we can get a new perk for them, that really does help out. I don't think we'll get it soon because I think we'll see a lot of adjustments with Strand, the new elemental type, once Lightfall does hit, but this is just something to keep an eye on. So those are the weapons that I think you should definitely be looking at. The fusion rifles, 100%. The grenade launcher, Lingering Dread, very good as well. Bump in the Night. Those are the top ones to try to get in your inventory right away, and then everything else can kind of come along with that as well once you have those focused first and foremost. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more Destiny content. I'm going to have a ton of videos leading up into Lightfall. I really want to focus on the prep, but not really like what you should be doing as far as like hoarding bounties or anything like that, but what weapons I think are going to be very good so you can kind of level them up, hunt for a god roll, all that kind of good stuff. Anyway, my name is JoPa. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.